Excerpts. Behold, my brothers, the spring has come, the earth has received the embraces of the sun, and we shall soon see the results of that love. Every seed is awakened, and so has all the animal life. It is through this mysterious power that we too have our being, and we therefore yield to our neighbors, even our animal neighbors, the same rights as ourselves, to inhabit the land. Yet, hear me, people, we have now to deal with another race, small and feeble when our fathers first met them, but now great and overbearing. Strangely enough, they have a mind to till the soil, and the love of possession is a disease within them. These people have made many rules that the rich may break, but the poor may not. They take tithes from the poor and the weak to support the rich who rule. They claim this mother of ours, the earth, for their own, and fence their neighbors away. They deface her with their buildings and refuse. That nation is like a spring freshet that overruns its banks and destroys all those who are in its path. We cannot dwell side by side. Only 7 years ago we made a treaty by which we were assured that the buffalo country should be left to us forever. Now they threaten to take that away from us. My brothers, shall we submit, or shall we say to them, first, kill me before you take possession of my fatherland? Tatanka, Yotanka, or Sitting Bull. Hunkpapa Teton Su. I have seen 2 generations of my people die. Not a man of the 2 generations is alive now but myself. I know the difference between peace and war better than any man in my country. I am now grown old. I must die soon. My authority must descend to my brothers, Opichapan, Chano, and Chachato, then to my 2 sisters, and then to my 2 daughters. I wish them to know as much as I do, and that your love to them may be like mine to you. Why will you destroy us who supply you with food? What can you get by war? We can hide our provisions and run into the woods. Then you will starve for wronging your friends. Why are you so jealous of us? We are unarmed and willing to give you what you ask for, if you come in a friendly manner, and not with swords and guns, as if to make war upon an enemy. I am not so simple as to not know that it is much better to eat good meat, sleep comfortably, live quietly with my wives and children, laugh and be merry with the English, and trade for their copper and hatchets, than to run away from them, than to lie cold in the woods, feed on acorns, roots, and such trash, and to be so hunted that I can neither eat nor sleep. In these wars my men must sit up watching, and if a twig break, they all cry out, "Here comes Captain Smith," so I must end my miserable life. Take away your guns and swords, the cause of all our jealousy, or you may all die in the same manner. Wahun Sonakak Pauhatan. I actually have that in another one. You still sit among us, brother. Your person retains its usual resemblance and continues similar to ours, without any visible deficiency except that it has lost the power of action. But whither is that breath flown, which a few hours ago sent up breath to the Great Spirit? Why are those lips silent, that lately delivered to us expressive and pleasing language? Why are those feet motionless, that a short time ago were fleeting than the deer on yonder mountains? Why, useless, hang those arms that could climb the tallest tree and draw the toughest bow? Alas, every part of that frame which we lately beheld with admiration and wonder is now become as inanimate as it would 300 winters ago. We will not, however, bemoan thee as if thou wast forever lost to us, or that thy name would be buried in oblivion. Thy soul yet lives in the great country of spirits. with those of thy nation that are gone before thee. And though we are left behind to perpetuate thy fame, we shall one day join thee. Actuated by the respect we bore thee whilst living, we now come to tender to thee the last act of kindness it is in our power to bestow, that thy body might not lie neglected on the plain, and become a prey to the beasts of the field or the fowls of the air. We will take care to lay it with those of thy predecessors who are gone before thee, hoping at the same time that thy spirit will feed with their spirits, and be ready to receive ours, when we also shall arrive at that great country of souls. Our land is more valuable. It doesn't say who that's from. Anonymous. Our land is more valuable than your money. It will last forever. It will not even perish by the flames of fire. As long as the sun shines and the water flows, this land will be here to give life to men and animals. Therefore we cannot sell this land. It was put here for us by the Great Spirit, and we cannot sell it because it does not belong to us. You can count your money and burn it within the knot of a buffalo's head, but only the Great Spirit can count the grains of sand and the blades of grass on these plains. As a present to you, we will give you anything we have that you can take with you, but the land never. Blackfeet Chief. Another Chief Joseph from the Nez Perce. The great earth was created by the assistance of the sun, and it should be left as it was. The country was made without lines of demarcation, and it is no man's business to divide it. I see the whites all over the country gaining wealth. I see their desire to give us lands which are worthless. The earth and myself are of one mind. The measure of the land and the measure of our bodies are the same. Say, the measures of the land and the measures of our body are the same. The measures of the land and the measures of our body are the same. Say to us, if you can say it, that you were sent by the creative power to talk to us. Perhaps you think the Creator sent you here to dispose of us as you see fit. If I thought you were sent by the Creator, I might be induced to think you had a right to dispose of me. Do not misunderstand me, but understand me fully with reference to my affection for the land. I never said the land was mine, to do what I choose. The one who has the right to dispose of it is the one who created it. I claim a right to live on my land, and accord you the privilege to live on yours. Tatanga Mani, or Walking Buffalo, Stony Nation. We were on pretty good terms with the Great Spirit, Creator and ruler of all. You whites assumed we were savages. You didn't understand our prayers. You didn't try to understand. When we sang our praises to the sun or moon or wind, you said we were worshiping idols. Without understanding, you condemned us as lost souls just because our form of worship was different from yours. We saw the Great Spirit's work in almost everything: sun, moon, trees, wind, and mountains. Sometimes we approached him through these things. Was that so bad? I think we have a true belief in the Supreme Being, a stronger faith than that of most whites who have called us pagans. Indians living close to nature and nature's ruler are not living in darkness. Did you know that trees talk? Well, they do. They talk to each other, and they'll talk to you if you listen. Trouble is, white people don't listen. They never learn to listen. They never learn to listen. They never learned to listen to the Indians. And so I don't suppose they'll listen to other voices in nature. But I have learned a lot from trees, sometimes about the weather, sometimes about animals, sometimes about the Great Spirit. Waho Wo Wa No Onk, Dr. Peter Wilson, Cayuga Chief. The land of Ganano, or Empire State as you love to call it, was once laced by our trails from Albany to Buffalo, trails that we had to trot for centuries, trails worn so deep by the feet of the Iroquois that they became our own roads of travel as your possessions gradually eat into those of my people. Your roads still traverse those same lines of communication and bind one part of the longhouse to another. The land of Ganano, the Empire State, then is our monument. We shall not long occupy much room in living. The single tree of thousands which sheltered our forefathers, one old elm under which the representatives of the tribe were wont to meet, will cover us all. But we would have our bodies twined in death among its roots, on the very soil on which it grew. Perhaps it will last no longer, being fertilized by their decay. In your last war with England, your red brothers, your elder brother, still came up to help you, as of old on the Canada frontier. We have, the first holders of this prosperous region, no longer a share in your history. Glad were your forefathers to sit upon the threshold of the Longhouse. Rich did they hold themselves in getting the mere sweeping from its door. Had our forefathers spurned you from it when the French were thundering at the opposite end to get a passage through and drive you into the sea, whatever has been the fate of the Indians, the Iroquois might have been a nation, and I, instead of pleading for the privilege of living within your borders, I might have had a country. Chief Flying Hawk, Ogalala Sioux. The teepee is much better to live in, always clean, warm in winter, cool in summer, easy to move. The white man builds big houses, cost much money, like big cave, shut out sun, can never move, always sick. Indians and animals know better how to live than white man. Nobody can be in good health if he does not have all the time fresh air, sunshine, and good water. If the Great Spirit wanted men to stay in one place, he would make the world stand still. But he made it to always change, so birds and animals can move and always have green grass and ripe berries, sunlight to work and play, and night to sleep, always changing, everything for good, nothing for nothing. The white man does not obey the Great Spirit. That is why the Indians never agree with him. Chief Flying Hawk. Okay. Smohala, Sukolk, Nes per se. My young man shall never work. Men who work cannot dream, and wisdom comes to us in dreams. You ask me to plow the ground. Shall I take my knife and tear my mother's breast? Then when I die, she will not take me to her bosom to rest. You ask me to dig for stone. Shall I dig under her skin for her bones? Then when I die, I cannot enter her body to be born again. You ask me to cut grass and make hay and sell it and be rich like white men. But how dare I cut off my mother's hair? I like that one. That's one of my favorites. Chief Seattle. My people are few. They resemble the scattering trees of a storm-swept plain. There was a time when our people covered the lands as the waves of a wind-ruffled sea cover its shell-paved floor. But that time long since passed away with the greatness of tribes that are now but a mournful memory. To us, the ashes of our ancestors are sacred, and the resting place is hallowed ground. You wander far from the graves of your ancestors, and seemingly without regret. Your religion was written on tables of stone by the iron finger of your God, so that you could not forget. The red man could never comprehend nor remember it. Our religion is the tradition of our ancestors, the dreams of our old men, given them in the solemn hours of night by the Great Spirit, and the visions of our shamans, and is written in the hearts of our people. Your dead cease to love you and the land of their nativity as soon as they pass the portals of the tomb and wander away beyond the stars. They are soon forgotten and never return. Our dead never forget the beautiful world that gave them being. When the last red man shall have perished, and the memory of my tribe shall have become a myth among the white men, these shores will swarm with the invisible dead of my tribe, and when your children's children think themselves alone in the field, the store, the shop, or in the silence of the pathless woods, they will not be alone. At night, when the streets of your cities and villages are silent, and you think them deserted, they will throng with the returning host that once filled them, and still love this beautiful land. The white man will never be alone. Let him be just and deal kindly with my people, for the dead are not powerless. Dead, I say, there is no death, only change of worlds. Chief Seattle, Duwamish Tribe. Makatai Meshi Kya Kyak, or Black Hawk, chief of the Sauk and Fox. We always had plenty. Our children never cried from hunger. Our children never cried from hunger. Our children never cried from hunger. Neither were our people in want. The rapids of Rock River furnished us with an abundance of excellent fish, and the land being very fertile, never failed to produce good crops of corn, beans, pumpkins, and squashes. Here our village stood for more than 100 years, during all of which time we were the undisputed possessors of the Mississippi Valley. Our village was healthy, and there was no place in the country possessing such advantages, nor hunting grounds better than those we had in possession. If a prophet had come to our village in those days and told us the things that were to take place which have since come to pass, none of our people would have believed him. Chief Luther, standing there. The white man does not understand the Indian for the reason that he does not America. He is too far removed from its formative processes. The root of the tree of his life have not yet grasped the rock and soil. The white man is still troubled with primitive fears. He still has in his consciousness the perils of this frontier continent, some of its vastness not yet having yielded to his questing footsteps and inquiring eyes. He shudders still with the memory of the loss of his forefathers upon its scorching desert and forbidding mountaintops. The man from Europe is still a foreigner and alien. The man from Europe is still a foreigner and alien. And he still hates the man who questioned his path across the continent. And he still hates the man who questioned his path across the continent. And he still hates the man who questioned his path across the continent. But in the Indian, the spirit of the land is still vested. It will be until other men are able to divine and meet its rhythm. Men must be born and reborn to belong. The bodies must be formed of the dust of their forefathers' bones. Crazy Horse, Ogalalasu. We did not ask you white men to come here. The Great Spirit gave us his country as a home. You had yours. We did not interfere with you. The Great Spirit gave us plenty of land to live on, and buffalo, deer, antelope, and other game. But you have come here. You are taking my land from me. You are killing off our game, so it is hard for us to live. Now you tell us to work for a living, but the Great Spirit did not make us to work, but to live by hunting. You white men can work if you want to. We do not interfere with you. And again you say, why do you not become civilized? We do not want your civilization. We do not want your civilization. We do not want your civilization. We would live as our fathers did and their fathers before them. Tatanga Mani, Stony Nation. Oh yes, I went to the white man's schools. I learned to read from school books, newspapers, and the Bible. But in time I found that these were not enough. Civilized people depend too much on man-made printed pages. I turned to the Great Spirit's book, which is the whole of his creation. You can read a big part of that book if you study nature. You know, if you take all your books, lay them out under the sun, and let the snow and rain and insects work on them for a while, there will be nothing left. But the Great Spirit has provided you and me with an opportunity for study in nature's university, the forests, the rivers, the mountains, and the animals, which include us. Sitting Bull. What treaty that the whites have kept has a red man broken? Not one. What treaty that the white men ever made with us have they kept? Not one. When I was a boy, the Sioux owned the world. The sun rose and set on their land. They sent out 10,000 men to battle. Where are the warriors today? Who slew them? Where are our lands? Who owns them? What white man can say I ever stole his land or a penny of his money? Yet they say I am a thief. What white woman, however lowly, was ever captive or insulted by me? They say I am a bad Indian. Yet they say I'm a bad Indian. The women too. What white man has ever seen me drunk? Who has ever come to me hungry and unfed? Who has ever seen me beat my wives or abuse my children? Who has ever seen me beat my wives or abuse my children? Who has ever seen me beat my wives or abuse my children? What law have I broken? Is it wrong for me to love my own? Is it wicked for me because my skin is red? Because I am Sioux? Because I was born where my father lived? Because I would die for my people and my country? To William Paley and all of Christian America and Christian Europe, as well as Jewish culture and Islamic Abrahamic sects, which are all fascist-derived organizations of death, destruction, and rape, yes, it is wrong. That is exactly what's wrong. That's what's wrong with the Indian. That's what's wrong with the African. That's what's wrong with the Islander. That's what's wrong with the South American. That's what's wrong with the Celtic. That's what's wrong with the Asian and the Chinese people, the farming Chinese people that are now done, industrialized into an ant colony. Where do you stand? Or where do you sit? What do you do? How do you think? What do you see? What do you hear? The Indians had turned America into such, the North America, and to see the difference of the effect of the people on the land. The effect the Indians had on the land made the land so beautiful and prosperous that it became desirable. And that was with 15,000 years of care. And in just a short span of 500 years, 1/3 of that, these people that came claiming to be superior and still claim such, have decimated the land. So now, according to their own studies, 80% of all the rivers and streams contain antidepressants. The air can barely be breathed. Schools have to shut down in some areas for days with high pollutants in the air. The skies are crossed. If a car drove past the street smoking as much as the planes do, there's a number to call to report it, and that settles down. You go to downtown LA and touch any sign, and the blackness of your hand, that's the blackness that you breathe in your lungs, far worse than cigarettes. The cancer rate, in 100 years, the cancer rate has gone from 1 out of 32 to 1 out of 3. That's over 1,000-time increase. The land reflects the people. And the people that live on the land now are dead, fascist, murdering zombies who even kill their children just to preserve their own way of life.